Hello and welcome to Area Nerdy One. I am Jimmy.
And I am Jarrett. Sorry for the late start. Here at Area Nerdy 1, sometimes Area 51 steals our goddamn Wi-Fi, or Area 51 changes their Wi-Fi password and we can't get in.
Yeah, it all depends on who's paying the bills that particular month. This month it's our turn. So, what's good, Jarrett? What's poppin'?
Good? So, we have a lot to talk about, and I think one thing that we really should focus on is streaming.
Okay.
Streaming has obviously been a very big part of our lives in the way we get entertainment,
Right.
especially now that the plague has encompassed everything in our lives totally and wholly.
Yep.
But you know what?
Schmandemic.
It's the schmandemic. But you know what was the really good thing about the pandemic? Is I got to try local good brews.
Really?
And I
like,
mean-
like what, Jarrett? Like what?
Like the brews at Big Nerd Coffee Company.
Oh yeah. Why don't you tell our viewers about the Big Nerd Coffee Company,
Well,
Jarrett?
Big Nerd Coffee Company is A, a local coffee company,
Okay.
and B, just high quality products. Every day they brew fresh brewed coffee, brewed twice.
They brew it twice.
They brew it twice. No, they don't brew
They
it
don't
twice.
actually brew it twice. But
But it's a really great product that they give out. They don't give out, they sell. Oh my god. It's one of those days, isn't it? But Big Nerd Coffee Company is our sponsor of this episode today, and we'd like to give them a big shout out because, you know, we don't, here at Area Nerdy 1, we don't put highlights on bad products. We only showcase things that we actually believe in. And Big Nerd Coffee Company is one of those companies.
that's right. So, thank you so much, Big Nerd Coffee Company, for being our sponsor. We love your product. Go
Thank you
check
for
them
waking
out.
me up every single day, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to the subjects at hand.
The subject at hand is, before we get into like the main subject, which is going to be obviously more of Dance of the Dragons, however, Netflix is a interesting little subject these days, don't you think?
Okay. There. Boop logo.
Boop logo.
Boop logo. Yeah.
Logo. So Netflix is, as we know, is starting to hemorrhage people.
Yeah. The viewers, you mean?
Yes. So I've actually been thinking about this a lot because they were revamping how they make money.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is they're going to be really aggressively kicking off other people. Secondary accounts, which is going to be people that are sharing accounts, which
Right.
is like, you know, you give me your password and out of one account, maybe 3 or 4 people.
Not that we do that.
Not that we do that.
No.
That is immoral.
We're costing Netflix so much money, Jarrett.
Stealing?
Hell no. How are they gonna
I'm not gonna
live
do
if
that.
they don't have my $12 a month?
Exactly. Well, it's actually more than that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's right. I think it's like 15.
It's a little over 15. It's like 15 and some change.
Oh,
So
good lord.
yeah. So the Lord have mercy.
I mean, at this point, Parks and Rec isn't even on Netflix anymore. So why
Yeah.
the fuck am I even watching it?
Which is very interesting. So one thing I was thinking of, because that doesn't make sense to me, because in reality, what Netflix and streaming services need are not subscribers, they're viewers.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And Netflix is taking eyes off of Netflix.
Right. Because so here's the thing that I always thought was interesting that I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah.
Is the merchandising aspect of so we all know that Netflix can't make tons more money by just making these extravagant productions. Like that's why they can't have big productions like Marco Polo, The Crown, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, etc.
Mhm.
What they need is something that they can merchandise if they're going to make it
Right.
expensive. So they can't get money back on ticket sales, but they need something that goes viral like Stranger Things.
Exactly. So I actually did the math on this. So the average movie ticket it costs us about $11
Yeah.
each. So if we honestly take a franchise like Star Wars and somebody sneaks into the theaters for the sequel trilogy,
Right.
that's $33 that doesn't go to Disney and those companies.
Right.
However, the average Star Wars fan will spend approximately $55 and some change on Star Wars merchandise.
Right.
So that person sneaking in, though they're technically like the streaming services say, like the people that are sharing accounts, they're not paying for that.
Right.
This person stole about $33 from them, but still will give them an additional $12
Exactly.
in merchandising. Netflix doesn't have the capacity for box office, and we're even seeing now that short of like actual big budget movies like Star Wars that
Yeah.
has a massive fan base,
Yeah.
is that no one's going to have box office returns anymore.
Unless it makes more money than God on opening weekend,
Yeah.
it's considered a failure.
Yeah, and let's be honest, I don't like we think Star Wars like made over $1 billion in the box office, but
Right.
they merchandised and like marketed the shit out of that.
Yeah.
It's the toy sales and the Lego
It's- yeah,
sales.
the toy sales, the Lego sales, the action figures,
The Disney theme park.
the costumes, the cosplays,
Yeah.
the Disney theme park. Like you say, it's people going out and buying the product. Now Netflix has something like that with Stranger Things. People can go out and buy the T-shirts, they
Mhm.
can buy the board games, they can buy the card games,
Right.
they can buy the Funko Pops. That's why Netflix the new season of Stranger Things is on track to be the most expensive TV show ever made.
Besides another streaming services TV show, which is going to be Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
The Rings.
I think it may have surpassed it. Let's see.
It's not. It's 30 million per episode, and Lord of the Rings is 50 million per episode.
Right. Okay. People. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So Deadwood. Blah blah. We don't care about Dead. Westworld. Westworld's getting season 4, by the way.
Yeah,
Let's see here. Friends.
but like most of these TV shows that we're looking at, they're all streaming services,
Right. Yeah.
Game
Game
of
of Thrones. $15 million per episode for the
which
last
is
season.
which is interesting because the HBO was doing, the streaming service kind of thing, the subscription cost before it was an actual thing.
Right.
But back to like Netflix here. One of the big draws for them was that they basically, the joke was that they greenlight everything.
Right.
A lot of individuals and like very artsy people could get a really interesting show or movie produced.
Like Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and
Black Mirror. What was another one that came out?
House.
Yeah.
House was really big.
Yeah.
Stranger Things probably wouldn't have been made into a show on regular TV.
Exactly.
It's-
Same way that it's a shame it only got one season, but same with Dark Crystal: The Age of
It
Resistance.
wouldn't have been on any other network. But Netflix kind of understands now that the model is putting out subpar content. It's just putting out content. Like we're gonna get more Brickleberry knockoffs every
Right.
single time.
And here's the thing, though.
Mhm.
They are ramping up the amount of money they are spending on content.
Yes.
This year, I think last year was somewhere around $15 billion. This year, they're on track to spend $17 billion on new content.
So I'm gonna correct you on this.
Okay.
I'm gonna correct you.
Okay. Okay.
James, you
Jared.
ignorant slut.
Jared, you need these for a sec.
Actually, oh my god, your blind is bad. Ah!
It's not that bad.
It's pretty bad. So last year, in the year of our Lord 2021, they spent $17 billion on new content.
With a B.
With
The capital B.
capital B. What you need to understand is that is new content.
Yeah.
Netflix originals. That doesn't include the royalties they have to pay to content like for example, like The Office to run that old content. This year they're on track to spend $19 billion, and next year they are issuing probably about $21 to $22 billion on new content while losing money throughout all of this and losing subscribers and viewers.
And like you say, we're not exactly the most highbrow viewers on the planet. We like Star Wars, but
Yeah.
it's not good stuff.
No. So that brings us into like the next problem with Netflix is the stuff they're putting out is not quality. So they actually cut a lot of the budgets and a lot of the and axed a lot of high quality, really good animation
Yeah.
for Marmaduke,
Okay.
the movie.
Let's not try to harp on this one too much because I literally feel ill watching the
It
trailer for
was
this.
horrible. The trailer for it was honestly god awful, and the movie itself was garbage.
So every once in a while I catch I think what is it? Is it Metatron? I forget. No, it's not Metatron. It's YouTube channel, but he reviews things. Let's see if I can find the guy so I can give him due credit. But basically,
Yes.
he goes and he finds among other things like knockoff animation films, and he's like, what's the deal with this thing?
Right.
Let's see here. I can't talk and type at the same time.
So and so basically these movies that he reviews are like,
It's Saber Spark.
Saber Spark.
Saber Spark. So
Saber
he'll go through among other things, and he'll talk about like one of the movies he talked about was, I'm going to bring up the graphic for it. Bad Cat, which is like a Kazakhstani production company that made this movie. It was like an adult animation movie, and it was not unwatchable, but it was kind of weird and kind of bad. But he pointed out like, hey, it had lots of potential. Versus something like Marmaduke, which looks like they literally were just like, how can we? I would rather watch Bad Cat because it's semi-watchable than this one because it was unwatchable.
And it doesn't look like somebody even wanted to animate this movie whatsoever. So I just want to tell you that this movie wasn't made for anybody.
Yeah. So what? Like, here's an image from it. So basically, what I look at is like, it looks like they're making knockoff Illumination characters.
Right. But even Illumination is ridiculed for being terrible.
Yeah, so Illumination, I blame Illumination for a lot of the flack that the animation industry gets. They just basically make stuff that's like dumb and crap, but it's watchable. You can bring your kids to the theater to it. Right. You can watch it in the matinee. It's fine. Versus this thing that Netflix put out was unwatchable. Like the reviews are, it's sitting pretty at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
On just Google, there are 5-star reviews of this, and I want to read one to you now.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell the name because I want you to just listen to this review and tell me if you think this is good.
Okay, so this is just to preface it is
Yes.
a 5-star review of
The Marmaduke movie, not the one that with Owen Wilson, the new one.
Okay, a 5-star review of 2022's Marmaduke. Let's go.
Marmaduke enters the competition in this new installment of Marmaduke TM franchise. The fart jokes are immaculate. Not to mention the fact that he's voiced by the one and only Pete Davidson, who leads the character very well. With Marmaduke, he makes this character his own, with the tragic and comedic moments. Marcel will go down as one of the best movies out on Netflix. And it's a great way to get people to subscribe. Very excited to see Marmaduke 2, The Marm Strikes Back. First of all, when they refer to it as Marcel.
Is this a bot?
It has to be a bot because it says a great way to get people to subscribe.
What? Okay, that's the other thing. So it's got a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is bad, but it's not like
The thing is about certain movies, I can tell that nobody likes this. This isn't for kids. This isn't for adults. Nobody likes this.
Yeah, it's not even ironically funny.
It's not even ironically funny.
So
The Room is a bad movie, but it's an enjoyable movie. This is an unenjoyable movie.
Yeah. So let's move on because I don't even want to think about Marmaduke as like a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. The thing is, I would like to see a lot more, like you say, Netflix maybe fostering some more independent animators, some more independent studios that bring this out.
I'd rather see a movie that is trying to do its own thing and fails rather than a Marmaduke movie.
Yeah, it's that some people pointed out too that the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
They're like it's like they made a bot watch thousands of hours of like all the different movies.
Yeah.
And like it was supposed to be a movie for everything and everyone, basically.
It's kind of like Free Guy. Everybody liked that movie, but I feel like it was just so horribly generic. I didn't like it that much, you know? It was just it was so unoffensively fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Ryan Reynolds is kind of unfortunately turning into.
So
anyway,
one thing that I just thought about with when we were talking about this, we're talking about animation studios, and independent animation studios. I had major flashbacks to this movie. Do you remember this?
I do. I have we kind of watch these kind of movies, and it's like a fever dream. It didn't exist, but it totally did.
Yeah. So I'm sure you can find other videos that go way more deeper into the background of the production of this movie, but basically Warner Brothers kind of dropped this movie.
Yeah.
And eventually they ran out of money so much that Max, the big henchman there, had to be voiced by the director because they could not hire another person to voice the actor.
Yeah.
So this has been coming up. The animation stuff has been coming up my TikTok, and this has been brought up. And I have a bit of a conspiracy theory that I've had since I was a kid.
Okay.
About this, because I've been like revisiting this movie. So you remember the main villain,
Like the Shirley Temple
yeah,
girl.
the Shirley Temple girl. I think her name is Darla, right? So Darla. So I think that she had like a deal with the devil or like demonic pact situation. Because like people point out that like when she's like being nice, her bow is like cute. When she's like being mean, her bow turns into like little horns, basically.
Yeah.
And she's like a child actor, but she's like very like conniving and intelligent and stuff.
Mhm.
So I think and like also take a look at Max, her henchman, right?
Yeah.
So
Is-
he's not
Frankenstein.
he's not human, and he's not an animal.
Right.
He's like there's a gorilla in this movie, and he's almost like a gorilla, but he's not human, and he's not an animal.
So I have a bit. I'm gonna add fuel to that fire when you're done.
Okay, so but here, yeah, just to put the cherry on top. So my theory is that Darla is not a little girl. She's an adult who has like a deal with the devil situation to be a child star and also have a demonic henchman.
So so that's exactly where I was gonna go. So it's kind of a little bit more than just implied that she's been at this for quite a long time.
Mhm.
That she knows the industry. She's
Right.
been there, and also, unfortunately for child actors, there is a very small window for child acting, and then they're kind of just done.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what happened to Shirley Temple. Like she quite literally fell off the face of the earth after she got out of that cute phase.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate. So yeah, I think she's like like she made a deal with the devil to be a child basically forever, so she could be in this.
It makes me wonder if maybe if they had had enough budget and like support, they would have made that a feature of the movie. Maybe not, but it would have been a little dark. But I wonder like, but this is like a movie a lot of people point to, and like especially around this time where it was dominated by Disney or maybe DreamWorks. Now more like Warner Brothers at the time. This is one that was a little bit more independent and a little bit more like off brand.
So Yami says, I couldn't stand Free Guy. I watched 10 minutes. I turned it off. Yeah, I think things are becoming so generic. I mean, every movie just kind of turns into a bland version of itself.
Yeah.
But
people try to please everybody and end up pleasing nobody.
Exactly. But like to your point, Emperor's New Groove had a very thin budget and had a very constricted timeline. And I think that's one of the best Disney movies ever put out. And the same thing with Lion King actually was running with the B team.
Yeah.
And like no one believed in it. So sometimes restrictions are better than nothing else.
I like unironically and without nostalgia think that Lion King is probably the best animated movie ever made.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at like something, I'd rather watch something like Land Before Time, which had a shoestring budget and really didn't have anybody going for it, than The Good Dinosaur. Who the fuck talks about The Good Dinosaur?
Yeah, and so what was I lost my train of thought here.
Yeah.
You mentioned a shoestring budget. Oh yeah, Emperor's New Groove. I really like the background story of that movie because they were going to make a movie that was basically just generic Disney. It was going to be Aladdin, but in Inca, yeah. But then the producer came in, or I forget who it was. It may have been a producer, may have been a director, but they came in and he was like they were doing storyboard, and he was just basically like, I don't know who I'm supposed to like in the story. Like I'm not having any fun here, and they just completely revamped it.
Eartha Kitt as Yzma. There are a few times where I go, this is, not only did I not expect this and think this was going to go this direction, but Eartha Kitt as Yzma is the perfect person. A llama? He's supposed to be dead. Yeah. Weird. Just everything about that movie is perfect. And it's like one of those movies where you could definitely show it to kids and they would love it.
Oh yeah,
And
I watched it as a kid. We died watching that movie. So we thought it was so goddamn funny.
How'd you guys get here ahead of us? How did we, Krunk? Yeah, looking at the map, it just makes no sense. Like, it's a perfect movie. And I think that's kind of what we gotta look at is like, even though we do like it when really good, like our favorite nostalgic pieces have a lot of budget and are, given everything that they need, sometimes that's not a good thing. If Emperor's New Groove got the Disney budget, it would be just a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk between having enough
Yeah.
budget that you have the support and having enough budget that it's not money that's driving it.
Yeah.
It's the creative spark.
Exactly.
Basically.
So what? Back to what Yami said. Like Free Guy is one of those movies where Ryan Reynolds was big enough. They had the budget, and they just basically got whatever they wanted.
Mhm.
Not Daredevil, not Daredevil. Deadpool
Yeah.
was not one of those movies, especially the first one. No one had faith in it. It was our first rated R superhero movie, and Ryan Reynolds had to fund it themselves, and they were highly restricted. And it was worth it. It was a good movie.
Yeah. I won't say it's my favorite superhero movie ever, but it's definitely different than anything that was around at the time, and it took things in a new direction.
Absolutely.
And I chuckled a few times.
But we have to go to something that's gonna have to be a lot different, but also rely heavily on the material.
It sounds like they've got to really play the game, Jarrett. The game of
Cards.
House
of
of
Cards.
Dragons. House of
House of the Cards.
House of
House of the
Cards.
Cards. Game of the Cards.
I don't really.
Show me the money. Show me the cards.
I don't really have one that just goes straight up. Let's see here. Here we go. I think I might have something here.
Oh my god.
I know. Wait
Wait for it. Everybody, wait. House of the Dragon. Right there. House of the Dragon characters.
All right, let's go with this one.
Okay, House of the Dragon characters. Okay, so House of the Dragon, I'm really excited for. First of all, because we have to rely heavily on the material that we already kind of know from Game of Thrones. But it has the freedom to be its own thing,
Right.
and I think that's what they're going for, and I really like it. One character I forgot to mention last time that I'm really excited to see, and I hope they actually have him and they don't fuck us over.
Okay.
Forrester Frey.
It's just Forest Frey. Give
Forest
me
Frey.
1 second while I bring it up because I had to add like 50 of your friggin' things here. Where is it? Jeez.
It's up top.
Oh, there we go. Okay, get rid of that guy, and there he is.
Yeah.
So
Forrest Frey, one of my favorite characters. So first of all, House Frey, from we know from Game of Thrones, is this backstabbing backwater of a house, right?
ugly.
Horrible people.
Forest Frey is the guy in front there, and he's a bay.
Yeah. So basically, what I really would like to see is that House Frey is this honorable house, and Forrest Frey is a really good guy.
Yeah.
He's a tourney champion. He's a nice guy. He even tries to marry Rhaella Targaryen at one point, but people ridicule him. I want to see House Frey be like, this kind of like House Stark of the South.
Yeah.
But people keep shitting on them because they just made their money and power the good old fashioned way.
And they're like, oh, you made your money the old-fashioned way. It's like you need to get across the bridge.
Yeah.
We're gonna make you pay.
Yeah, there was no bridge here. We built a bridge. Stop it. So
Stop it.
Stop it. So I just want to see like House Frey is like this good house, and we see how they become jaded over time. Like throughout the series, like though they keep stepping up to bat, they're honorable. They live up to their words. They're coming in. They're like the Rohirrim at the last minute, but people are just like, fucking phrase. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
And let's see. So I noticed something about these images being. So, this is a picture of Matt Smith as what's his name?
Daemon Targaryen.
Daemon Targaryen. Jared, does that armor look familiar to you?
It does. What does it remind me of?
All right, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, boom. Armor you can buy for like $10 on Amazon. So basically, I'm a cosplayer. I look up armor stuff. It's like for like the past 10 years, whenever I'm looking up armor, this is the first thing that comes up on Amazon. And it's not the exact thing, but I kind of get the feeling that they just kind of Google image searched armor on, and then used the first design that came up,
Right.
i.e. this thing.
Right. Well, the thing is like the armor. This takes place 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, so there has to be something. Gee, you're all over the place.
I know. There we go.
It has to be some. The armor has to go somewhere. And also I do like we've seen the armor from the other armor in the trailer and everything.
Right.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get. All right, let's just keep talking.
Yeah. So the other armor and the other like actual costumes are really really high quality. So this doesn't bother me so much because we've seen a lot of very generic leather surcoats and very generic armor throughout the season of Game of Thrones anyway.
I've got another comparison that perhaps will help really kind of drive it home. Okay. So this is Rhaena Targaryen.
Yep.
And like this is you get a little bit more of a shot of the costume in the trailer, but this is the best thing I could find. But you can see like from her dress there and her headdress, they really went all out with like the medieval finery on her costume especially. You can kind of see it in the other costumes.
Yes.
By comparison, here is the most stylish character in original Game of Thrones, Marjorie Tyrell.
Yes.
And like her dresses are still very very pretty, very nice, but it just doesn't have like that actual medieval. Not only
it's
realism
it's
or
pseudo modern.
Yeah, it's pseudo modern, and it's by comparison a little bit drab compared to something like
Well, it kind of goes back to like Daemon Targaryen's armor. Real armor, when it's being functional, is very simplistic usually.
Yeah.
Like especially if they're just gonna go out and actually kill people. Daemon Targaryen is known for not, like in the story, is known for not exactly being a very like flamboyant person. He's kind of crazy. He's the rogue prince.
Right.
So when he goes and does stuff, like all these people are gonna look like Rhaena Targaryen. He's gonna look very drab in comparison, and I think that's gonna be kind of cool to see like the High Towers being this very flamboyant and aristocratic looking, while everyone else is kind of like, yeah, what else? Like that's kind of like them showing them kind of inserting themselves into the royal family.
Yeah. All right. Moving on because we're jumping all over the place.
Yes.
You spoke about the High Tower. You spoke of the
High Towers.
So this is I think it's Alysanne
Hightower. So she's married to Viserys the First.
Okay. And so and that's her father, and he's the Hand of the King.
Right. So this is basically, if you think back to Game of Thrones, she's Cersei, he's Tywin.
Okay. So so these guys are basically they're getting semi-introduced, like they're mentioned in the books, but like now in this story they're getting a heavy part to play.
Oh yeah. And Olivia DeLuca says, I feel like there isn't a lot of variation when it comes to protective quote armor, sadly. Good and bad in their own perspective. Yeah. That is fair.
Yeah, I honestly don't fault any production for taking creative liberties when it comes to that type of stuff, unless it's like unless they're like billing it as a historical drama.
Right.
But like I just thought it was funny scrolling through. It's like, isn't that the armor from AliExpress? Like
when you get your wish armor.
Oh.
Well, to be also fair, when they have to actually film this stuff, they have to be able to be very mobile. Mm-hmm. Which, if you ever actually watched any videos online of professional knights online, they're actually highly mobile in armor, but they have to be able to do that constantly throughout hours and hours and hours of shooting. So they have to take some liberties with
that. And actual so actual functional armor that would have been battle ready. Would have been it'd be expensive to make now. It was extremely expensive back then, and for armor to like actually be mobile like that, it had to be highly tailored to the person.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit, it makes sense with someone like Brienne of Tarth had her own like full armor. A few other characters in Game of Thrones had their full armor, but making it for like every scene with every character is not practical.
Right. And plus, tailoring it to individual people, again, even in our age, is extraordinarily expensive. So having a little bit more creative liberty with like Brienne's armor wouldn't be really functional in medieval times, but like, come on, I mean, it looks good, and Luca has a very good point. Protective armor doesn't have a ton of variation because at that point in time they had it down to a science, so everyone kind of looked the same. I would
say there was a lot of variation because like. It depends on where you're going with it. Because there was a lot of variation for. Okay, I'm getting it.
You opened up the gate, Olivia.
So basically, we think of things in the modern age as very reproducible. So like we see that armor on Amazon, and like we can buy 150 of them, and they're all going to be the same, right? Mm-hmm. Armor back in the Middle Ages, take it from any time, honestly. It's going to be one single each craftsman is individually going to be. Making this, he's going to have his shop and stuff and help, but each armor, each weapon is an individual piece, an individual work of art, if you will. But an artist. And then of course on top of that, if you have aristocrats who are buying it, they're going to want to try to have some sort of decorative or stylistic variation in the armor to differentiate themselves on the battlefield, or when you're getting into like late Middle Ages where it's almost more of a where they have tournaments and stuff, they're going to want that type of stylistic armor.
Well,
like you look at Henry VIII's armor, he was just like, I'm gonna pimp my armor out, basically.
Pimp my ride. He's got what is it?
Like, okay, if you look at Henry VIII's armor, he like went out of his way to make sure the cod piece looked massive.
Yeah. But the thing I liked about Game of Thrones is all the armies look absolutely different to showcase who's who. Like the Northerners wore very light leather armor so they can be more mobile and be warm in the winter, and the Lannisters obviously were highly more decorative. Everyone was more professional.
That's the thing about I'm not 100% accurate, but I liked about the Lannister armor is that they all have plate armor, so they all have like the best armor available. Yeah.
Also, I think the way we got to think about the Game of Thrones is that it's not really like medieval England.
Yeah.
Each region's house is like their cultural and economic center. So everyone's it's gonna be a lot more united and the same usually. And I'm also excited. I just realized this. We're gonna see House Rain.
House Rain. Jarrett, tell us about House Rain.
House Rain. Well, there's no more.
Oh yeah, the Castemirs of Rain.
Yeah.
Wait. So wait.
Castamere. Yeah, the Rains of Castamere.
So wait. So why are they House Castamere or House Rain?
They're House Rain, but their castle is Castamere. The Rains of Castamere.
Got it.
See, the Rains of Castamere is the song, like rains falling down.
Oh, it's a double entendre.
Yeah, but their name is actually the Rains.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the Red Lion, the double-tailed Red Lion are the main rivals to House Lannister. Mm-hmm. They're highly powerful, and by the time, just before the time of Game of Thrones, Tywin Lannister took them all out. Them and the Tarbex.
Yeah. What about the red and white striped crowned lions? Are they any threats?
Not yet.
That's an inside joke.
That's an inside joke.
I
haven't got my letter, you son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, that's right. So basically, little bit of backstory. Our family, way back came from the area of Hesse, which was an area in Germany back in like the 1700s, and their coat of arms is a red and white striped lion with a crown. So just kind of cool. We don't. Yeah.
It's not like I don't think we have an official house.
Thing, but are you kidding?
Sometimes we just take stuff. That's
the thing about. So I found that out about America. So like over in Europe, there were actual laws to displaying coats of arms.
Yeah.
In America, there's you can make your own coat of arms and like display it. It's no, but if you went over to Europe and were like, this is my coat of arms, like you're not allowed. You're not supposed to do that. Like it's a big no.
Like especially if we went to Hesse and like Hesha, like this, like the area, and we were like, this is us, and they would be like, no,
no. Okay, so Jarrett, why don't we talk a little about the name of this episode is Mo Dragons, Mo Problems, and that works for everyone because the dragons of Game of Thrones are what led to the massive budgets.
Yes,
and this is the Dance of Dragons. There's Mo Dragons.
Yes. So in the second to final episode of Game of Thrones, we saw undead Viserion go up against Rhaegal and Drogo, and that was but it was all in dark. It wasn't that good, and it was very brief that fight. However, the Dance of Dragons is quite literally a civil war between dragon riders. It's basically Aragon, but better.
Yeah, it's funny because Aragon was trying to be like literally everything else. So Aragon is basically everything else but worse.
Yeah, the generic. What do you call it? The generic adventure fantasy story.
Yeah, Christopher Paolini was 15 years old. What do you expect?
Yeah, what do you expect? So. But the thing is, what we're going to see is a variation of dragons. Basically, Viserion, Rhaegal, and Drogo were the same dragon, but different colors.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what they were in the books anyway. Like, their sizes were different, but their colors were highly differentiated.
Right. So what wait, that's not one. That's Cannibal. We might get back to him. So this is a little bit bigger picture of what we're going to see these dragons look like. And I got a couple of different variations so we can take a look. So I'm thinking this design looks like it was more like Smaug from like The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Versus, let's see if I can find it. Blah blah blah. There, like this is a picture of Drogon. So you can see the looks like they're going for a little bit more like long-limbed, kind of snake-like.
Wyverns,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Exactly. So I actually in the books, whenever they describe dragons, they describe them as like really long necks,
Like
and, like
snakes.
yeah, like snakes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the design of like the Game of Thrones dragons. Those look like dragons,
Yeah.
and the sounds like the roars, perfect.
Yeah. And if you know, it's if you get a close-up look at like their mouths when they're breathing fire, they actually have like a couple of the like tubes in the back of their throat,
Yeah,
like
I love
a
that.
spitting cobra. Yeah.
I love that. And then like we're gonna see dragons of highly varied color because there's like Silverwing. There are there's other like major dragons that look highly different, and I think it's Meraxes. Meraxes is still alive, so we're gonna see one of the old dragons
I think
too.
Meraxes got dead. So let's see here.
The Battle over the God's Eyes, where the Meraxes was.
Yeah. So I've got my handy dandy, The World of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
I picked this bad boy up for $10 at a used bookstore.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
For those of you guys who don't know, like you can't find a used copy of this for less than like $50. Like people just don't want to sell it for less.
Yeah,
But
like the brand new copies are like $60-$70.
but you know what? Dragon is not going to be in the Dance of Dragons.
Alden.
Fucking Alduin, apparently.
Yeah, I am. One thing I think I'm really excited for is that we're gonna see other locations in Westeros
Right.
because the final season of Game of Thrones was just basically Winterfell and King's Landing, and that was
Right.
it.
Right.
You know, I want to see a lot more of Dorne. I would love. I mean, but a lot of the Dance of Dragons, like most of the wars of Westeros, take place in the Riverlands, which is just kind of generic, like
Yeah.
farms.
Yeah, it's where it's like it's almost the breadbasket. Well, I mean the Reach is kind of the breadbasket, but
It's
like
a secondary breadbasket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I would like to see is another King Beyond the Wall.
another King Beyond the Wall. I'm just looking for the list of dragons, but continue, Jared. Why
Yeah.
would you like to see that?
Well, because one of the more interesting locations that people liked about Game of Thrones was the Wall and the Night's Watch.
Yeah, that was where all the most interesting shit was going on.
Yeah, if you are having a show about the Dance of Dragons,
y'all
there's
better have the Wall.
yeah, you all better have the Wall. Well, actually, there's nothing goes on at the Wall.
And here's the thing: is if dragons are heavily involved in the story, then one of the things that Game of like the first like what 7 seasons of Game of Thrones is it would take a very long time for the story to progress because the characters were moving along very slowly.
Yeah.
Versus they did play with this a lot, but in the last season things moved along much more quickly because you're like, oh, they got there by dragon.
Yeah, they got there, which is we have our own issues with that. We could go on forever about that. But however, dragons are going to make it very interesting, especially when it comes to like actual like combat. But we do have the kind of the look of what they're going to look like, and these things are going to be massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And I would really like to see the budgets of what they're going to look like. But of course, this is going to suck. But if it is a lot of money, we might not get a season 2.
Right. So yeah, like the title says, mo dragons, mo problems. Actually,
Exactly.
okay. So it's the original thing is mo money, mo problems, right?
Yeah.
So, but if there's more mo dragons, there's less money.
Why not make it the whole season like animated?
Like what they did with the prequel series for The Witcher.
Yeah, like instead of like
Oh, here we go.
live action and stuff, why not just make it animated, like high quality animation, like cartoon?
Right.
Instead it might cut the budget down a little bit, and you could play around with it more, and the combat could be whatever you want.
Right. Okay, so we got a bunch. So in this book, you can find there's a list of like the dragons involved in the Dance of Dragons
Yep.
on each side. So I don't know. Is there anyone here that you really want to talk about?
Yeah. So one of the big ones I think that we're gonna see is Sunfire.
I don't have a picture.
Okay, so the main the two sides, which is the blacks and the greens. The greens are controlled by Aegon Targaryen,
Right.
and he's the king basically. He's the head honcho.
Right.
He's basically the main antagonist. That's his dragon is Sunfire.
Right.
Spoiler alert! If you do not want spoilers for House of the Dragon or anything else, stop now.
We warned you.
We warned you. During a battle, Sunfire and Aegon get horribly mangled.
Mhm.
like really bad. He gets burned on half of his body, and Sunfire is just as bad, and he goes insane.
He goes full Harvey Dent.
He goes full Harvey Dent, and to see that basically half of the rider and half of the dragon is just gone.
Mhm.
I want to see that. I want to see what that does to a dragon, because we're going to see a lot of combat with dragons, but we don't really see what happens to them afterwards.
Right.
How they change and how they change their riders.
Right. And also, we're going to be able to see like other dragons, such as
Cannibal.
Cannibal. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So Cannibal is actually kind of an interesting dragon. So part of the story is during the Dance of the Dragons, they have dragons. They just don't have riders.
Mhm.
People can contain them. And one of the dragons that's being held by Queen
Rhaenys?
Yeah,
Rhaenyra.
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 Yeah. It's actually, his name is the Cannibal. He eats baby dragons and eggs. Like, he's untamable. And at a certain point, he just fucking leaves.
Yeah.
And he goes beyond the wall, apparently. Just leaves.
He just flies off.
He just flies off. To see, like, I want to see, like, all these dragons are, like, majestic and honorable and noble. Kind of like that idea of what we think, like, dragons and dragon riders are. And then to see, like, the absolute darkest side of dragons. Like we have personalities with people.
Mhm.
I want to see dragons with personalities.
Fair.
And they're not just, like, CGI snakes with wings. These are actual, like, characters.
Mhm.
And Cannibal could be like that.
So they're going to have to be a little bit more animalistic, but but you can give them different types of like personalities and temperaments for sure.
Absolutely. During the Dance of the Dragons, they use people that are bastards of the kings and queens. One of the things they do is they try to get them to ride these dragons, and they get burned up.
Yeah.
A lot of them get eaten and burned. You know, I think that's going to be very interesting. We root for Rhaenyra because she's the main character,
Yeah.
but she's sending these, or basically her cousins, to die.
Yeah. That's a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read Dance of Dragons, the Game of Thrones book. That's what happens. Spoiler alert. That's what happens to Quentin Martell, the son of Prince Doran Martell. So he goes over and he's supposed to bring back Daenerys to like bring her to Dorne and like offer
and marry her.
and
Like,
marry her.
he goes there to marry her, and
Yeah.
he's just like, "Why won't you marry me?"
Yeah, and he's basically he's a very sympathetic character. I feel very sorry for him, but he's like, oh, he's like, I'm distantly related to the Targaryens. Maybe I can bring the Rhaegal and Vagar out of here, or Rhaegal and
Viserys.
Viserion out of
Viserion.
there. And so he goes to their lair and they burn him up.
Yeah, he basically tries to whip them, and like just goes in there, feeds them, and tries to like whip them with absolutely the worst plan ever.
Yeah,
And these things just like they're not having it, you know?
yeah, they're like they're unpredictable animals. So
Yeah.
So yeah, and we might be able to get to see the personalities, but like you say, maybe they'll cut out like 90% of like the dragon stuff.
It might happen. I mean, it's the first season. I honestly think this is what I honestly think. The first season is going to be first season of Game of Thrones quality.
Right.
Just like they're just like, fuck it, we're doing it live. We're gonna go hard as we can. We have all the people that are in this. This is like the new Star Wars. People are gonna love Game of Thrones. People talk about Game of Thrones all the time. That we can do this. But because of how streaming is, I don't think they're going to have the budget, and they're just going to destroy the second season.
So, but that's the other thing. So one of the things that I'm always harping about this. No one seems to understand me on this.
Okay.
But no one gets me. So basically,
Nobody understands me.
I think one of the things that made Game of Thrones so successful was the merchandisability and of the characters. Like the Starks had their wolf symbol. The Targaryens had their dragon symbol. You could get the T-shirt and like be like, yeah, go Starks, go Targaryens, go Lannisters. You could like you could pick a team and like have water cooler talk about it. I don't know if these characters in these houses in this show is going to have the same legs as that.
I think it might have it better because you have the two sides, the blacks and the greens.
Mhm.
So they have two different sigils that are similar.
Yeah.
You get to pick your side, right or left Twix. But you get houses that didn't get the shine in the other seasons. You have House Hightower, finally.
Yeah.
It's coming into play. You got House Valerion, you know?
Yeah. little fun facts, little nugget here.
Little nugget.
So you all remember Jorah Mormont? So his
Yeah.
his ex-wife that that got him into that situation was a Hightower. So
Exactly.
so that's what comes down from that.
Exactly. And we might actually get to see Dorne at play more.
Yeah.
Houses that are not just the main 7 will get more screen time.
Right.
And you can get those sigil t-shirts, and you can get that, but they can't just rely on, Stark and everything.
Right.
Let's see some fucking reads. Give me some reads. Give me some more Manderleys. Like Manderley action.
Mhm.
Give me some Royce action. I would like to see the major houses
Mhm.
get put on the sideline, and this is the fight between everybody. All the smaller houses are fighting.
I'd like to see the mountain clans of the north who are basically Scotsmen.
Yeah. So I think in the story of the Dance of the Dragons, basically, everybody is kind of somewhat united except like the Reach and a couple of other regions. I say, do it, everybody. All the the north, the south, the you have to go down from the lesson. Yeah. Everybody is fighting each other. The mountain clans, everybody. It's like here somewhere. Oh,
No, not that one.
yeah, that's the one. One of them.
It's this one. Okay, so anyway, keep talking, Jared.
Yeah. So I'm excited. They have potential. There is potential here.
Yeah.
But we've seen it time and time again. They fuck it up.
Right.
They fuck it up hard, and it's gonna be tough. But I'm excited. I
Yeah.
think we could have the next Game of Thrones.
All right, so we're coming up on time. I got a little every once in a while I'd like to on this show find a TikTok that we are able to respond to and we can
Exactly.
stitch on. So here's the TikTok that I've got for this week. Let me just bring this up. So this TikTok was brought up by user the_Jedi_always, and basically he's saying he had a brainwave watching the Bad Batch and especially Camino getting destroyed.
Mhm.
That he says in Star Wars universe, the Clone Wars feels like it's been forgotten. By the time you get to Luke, they only mention the Clone Wars once, and it doesn't really have an effect on the rest of the story. It feels like no one really talks about it, no one mentions it, and its effects and its people and its characters are just gone.
Yeah.
So we both have rebuttals to that.
You can go first.
All right, my rebuttal to that is I think that the Clone Wars was meant to be forgotten. I think that Sidious, in a way, planned it so that every part of it could be disposed of. The droids, the separatists, the troopers, they can be just the troopers can they get phased out. They're made to get old quick. The droids are made to get melted and turned into scrap metal, and all the characters involved according to Sidious are made to just serve his plan and go away, and and that's kind of what's sad about it, because the droids, not necessarily the droids, but especially the clone troopers, they base their whole lives and personality on I'm doing this for a reason. I am a good soldier's
Even
followers.
the droids, like we see in the Clone Wars, they still have some personalities.
Yeah.
It's not like they're they're droids, but it's not like they're mindless. They have personalities. They give up. They surrender.
Right. They've got personalities that they work with. So it's but I think that the reason that in the Star Wars universe, in my headcanon, the reason that the Clone Wars is forgotten is because it was meant to be forgotten.
I have a bit of a rebuttal to that.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up. That's stupid. No, I'm just kidding. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's a little bit to the planning of how the Star Wars kind of went. So first and foremost, the Clone Wars was supposed to be like World War I, and then the Civil War during the rise of the Galactic Republic is like World War II, what leads into the wars.
Right.
And what was supposed to happen, even in semi-canon, is that separatist regions are still in the New Republic because they allow that to happen. And there's your Clone Wars. It just doesn't get talked about because they didn't plan this well.
Right.
What I think really the analogy is not World War I, Clone Wars, and World War II, the Galactic Civil War. It's more the Clone Wars is the 7 Years' War.
Right.
Which has this wide-reaching expanse and sets the stage for the modern age.
Right.
But nobody really identifies it.
Right. So you're right. So if
Yes.
for those history buffs out there, the 7 Years' War was like a ground-shaking event that ravaged like mostly Europe, but like set the stage, like you say, for the
French
modern.
and Indian War was
Yeah.
part of the 7 Years' War.
Yeah.
It's this wide, expansive thing, highly destructive, reached a lot of people, but it wasn't really known at the time. Even at the time, the stages that were set wasn't really realized. I think that was the Clone Wars, the actual like civil war between the Alliance to Restore the Republic and the Empire was World War One.
Yeah.
Everyone thought this was the most destructive thing ever. Horrible. There'll never be a war like this ever again.
Yeah.
And what I think was supposed to happen was the War of the First Order is the most destructive war. It's World War II. It's the thing that they thought they stopped, which was the rise of this evil empire, comes back and it's bigger and better than ever. And the horror and destruction that is wrought is greater than ever imagined. I think that's what was supposed to happen.
Right.
And that's why I think the Clone Wars feels like it was forgotten, because it was supposed to set the stage, but the stage wasn't handled properly.
They set the stage, but then they didn't stick the landing in the final
They didn't
act.
stick the landing. I think if we could redo the sequel trilogy, we're just like, that sucks. Let's redo this. Let's redo this right. I think the effects of the Clone Wars would be felt, because those separatist regions would still be like, we did this whole unification, which is the Empire, and it sucked.
Right. Yeah, the separatist region can still be like, hey, things were kind of better under the separatists.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that again.
Exactly. What I would really like to see is that the New Republic actually has a high level of diversity. Two races that suffered the most under the Empire are the Wookiees and the Twi'lek.
What Twi'leks? Yeah.
Twi'lek.
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Well, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Stop it. Don't bring it up again. So when I think what would be good is like the First Order is like only has ever fought against other humans, and then they go up against like Wookiees.
Yeah.
Just Wookiees.
Wookiee war. They freaking come down on their dragonfly copters and are like
Exactly.
jump on ships themselves.
But like though the First Order has a lot more training and equipment, the New Republic has a ton of diversity. Yeah, what is the average First Order trooper gonna do against a Wookiee lieutenant who's been fighting his entire life
For 500 years.
for 500 years? That's why the Clone Wars feels forgotten, because it was supposed to be not center stage. It was supposed to set the stage for the final act.
Yeah.
But the final act didn't go through with it.
Right.
You know.
And we could go ad nauseum about that, and we have, and we will.
And we definitely will. We'll have if you guys really want us to go in like a whole, like, we'll start early.
Yeah.
Like we'll start at like 6 o'clock and go until 10 and then just keep going. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Clone Wars was forgotten for a reason, or do you think maybe not?
Yeah, that's a good question. So
Yeah.
let's go. No, okay, we're running up on time here.
Did you have my picture for?
Oh crap! We're gonna have to do that next time.
Damn you.
Unless I can bring it up real quick.
Yeah. So if you could bring it up real quick.
Okay.
So it's the next one. The Dr. Coldfoot in the Exploding Babes. So the book.
What?
Yeah.
All right. So set
the stage. So welcome back to Jared.
That one, or that one.
Or
that one. We're trying to find a good image to like describe what the actual book is going on here.
I don't.
Okay,
just that one. Yeah. So basically, in this segment, it's Jared's finally getting. I don't have a good name for it yet. It's finally got around to it. What I do is I get a show or movie that has come out either just recently or a while ago, and I just watch it, and I have a bit of a review for it.
So introduce this right as I'm about to open this image. Okay.
Okay. So what I just watched was 1966's Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs.
Meet the girls with the thermonuclear navels. So, all right, this is a 1965 movie, by the way.
For some reason, Amazon either has really good movies or it's absolute garbage.
They seem to have a lot of these like random movies from the '60s, though.
Yeah. So I liked it because it had what is it? Vincent Price. Sorry,
The
Vincent-
incomparable
Vincent Price. So one of the things that I like about the '60s movies is they have to actually like they film it, right? But the technology for the microphones aren't really there, so they actually have to pick up the audio later on in studio. But that's the whole movie. Sometimes like it's not every single scene in these movies. It's like it was like clipped out because like there's too much wind or it's just
sometimes they're able to like have studios or sound stages, but you might notice like in some '60s movies you're like, why is it dubbed?
Yeah, why is it dubbed? But the whole thing is dubbed, and it is so goddamn campy. It's like the whole thing is like just so fucking weird.
It's like if someone directed an entire movie of the 1960s Batman.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's obviously Dr. Goldfoot, like Goldfinger.
Yeah.
And his plan is he has a machine that copies girls just randomly in the world, and he uses these girls that are robots, that are also bombs, by the way, who are also all in gold bikinis for some reason, to seduce high-ranking officials, like generals, and then blow up.
Oh, this isn't a hot girl. She was made in a factory.
A bomb factory. They're bombs. Oh, sorry. I thought she was a girl and I wanted to buy one. Wait! We were just kidding about that bomb stuff.
What's her name? Cherry, apple, raspberry. So it is very much like Austin Powers, but like Austin Powers is making fun of itself versus like it's like a parody of all these movies, but this is like it's obviously camp. It's obviously not taking itself seriously, but like this is where those movies are.
Exactly. So one of the things I don't like about Venom, right? Age of Carnage, or Rise of Carnage, or The Carnage Awakens,
right? Whatever it was.
Yeah, is that it felt like a movie that was just doing stuff. Like scenes happened. Like they didn't
just and
then this movie is just that. So the main character is this dude, guy number one. I watched the whole movie. I have no idea what his name is. He accidentally bumps into Vincent Price's character on the stage or on air tarmac or something.
Right.
And his second in command, which is like in this park watching these two dudes for some reason. I have no idea why. There's no reason for him to be in the park watching the two comedic reliefs who are just these two sexist weirdos who are trying to be funny, but none of their comedy lands. And the main character is watching Dr. Goldfoot's assistant making out with a random girl. You don't see her come back any other time. He's just doing it.
It sounds like a freaking art film.
It is. And then he follows him into I forget what the name of the club is. It's basically just a club called the Hot Box or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He runs into the comedic relief, and for some reason, they attack him, knock him unconscious, and drag him away.
So, all right, I don't think you need to describe the entire movie, but suffice to say, I'm guessing it's about like an hour and a half of just this.
It's just that. Vincent Price is hamming it up, and he's obviously having the time of his life, but the entire movie is incredibly insufferable.
You might know, most people know Vincent Price, most older people know Vincent Price as basically the king of horror at the time. Yeah. And, you younger kids might know him as the voice at the end of the Thriller song.
Or if you are an edgy person, he was the doctor in Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, that was his last role before he died, I believe.
Yep.
So anyway, the man was a legend, and apparently just like the nicest guy ever.
I have one of his cookbooks.
Yeah, he has a cookbook. He was like, and he was like on the Muppets, he seems like just like the sweetest, nicest person ever. He was like the king of the macabre.
Yeah. So like one of the things about Vincent Price is that he actually was one of the actual record holders for being in the most amount of movies.
Yeah.
90% of those movies are absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible movies. Not because he's like in them, they're garbage. They're just garbage movies, and he's in them.
Yeah.
You know?
His forte was he could be like a despicable character, but just be utterly charming the entire time.
Yeah, which is like
just creepy and like like just the worst, but he just was like so charming and so likable.
One of the things I think I like about him the most is that he'll take really stupid, shitty dialogue, but he delivers it in a way that it makes it seem like it's good dialogue.
Yeah.
Like it's really good dialogue because the way he's presenting it, he knows it's not good dialogue, so he has to give it in a certain way, and it works.
Here's a good one I just thought of. So
yes,
he was in a string of movies by I forget the guy's name, but a director in the '60s. You can look him up. He basically directed and created a string of Edgar Allan Poe movies that starred Vincent Price.
House of Usher,
Pit and the Pendulum, the Black Cat, I think.
The Black Cat, and there was another one. There was
like an anthology one, but
yeah.
the one I'm thinking of is The Mask of the Red Death, my favorite Poe story.
Phenomenal movie.
He plays Prince Prospero. Now, in this version, Prince Prospero is Prince Prospero is a Satanist. And so he brings in he spies like a peasant girl and brings him to a castle, and he's like treating her really well and stuff, but he's like basically trying to morally corrupt her by like convincing her to become a Satanist. And like there's like scenes where he's like explaining it to her, and like you say, this dialogue could have been like incredibly either like hammy or terrible, or like if it was by someone else, it could have been like, oh my god, this guy is a monster. But the way he's like explaining it to her and trying to convince her, he's just so utterly charming that like you can't help but like this character.
The thing is, like, when we see Satanists in movies, because we could talk about Vincent Price all day.
Yeah.
And I will.
Yes.
I'll do it. But Vincent Price in this movie, it doesn't, like, when we see like a lot of Satanists, they're like, oh, Satanists, bad, like everything's evil and blah blah blah. Like when he plays this Satanist prince, it's more like a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Not like he's like, yeah, Satan is my Lord and Savior. It's kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like he wants to do this or anything. It's like he's just like, yeah, why not?
He's like, this is he's like, I think that this is better and the only option.
Yeah, it's like deciding between Coke or Pepsi. Like.
Yeah, he's like, I believe this is true, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, go watch that one. Some of these movies are hard to sit through, especially this one. Apparently, Jared just watched, but
it was. Like you said, I shouldn't have just described the movie, but everything was so ridiculous that if I didn't sit here and tell you what happened, you wouldn't believe that it was in a movie.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So don't watch this movie.
I think this is like a good way. One thing that we talk about a lot is like how to do some good writing, and this is a good way to be like in order to become a good writer and good filmmaker. I think instead of watching like fucking The Godfather 150 times, watch a bad movie. This is a bad movie, but you can see how to formulate a plot and characters that make sense. If you want a comedic character, don't just have them do weird comedic stuff that don't make sense. Have them be comedic characters in a world.
Yeah, it's not only important to see how things do work, it's important to see how things don't work.
Exactly. And I think this is a good movie just to be like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. If you're high, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect movie. But if you want to see a movie of how not to structure a plot and how to move your characters from point A to point B, this is the one to do it.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes. So we talked a lot about a lot of different stuff. And of course, if you guys have a suggestion of what we should go over or have any questions or comments for us, please message us on our Facebook or Instagram. Leave your name, your preferred pronoun, and what you'd like us to talk about or answer.
That's right. All right. And we are inching ever closer to a new project. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but I am very excited about it. Hopefully we're going to have this in the offing, and I'll be able to release more details about it soon in the future.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Jimmy.
This has been Jarrett.